The Cursed Chamber. Chapter 1. The Forbidden Passage. The evening sun cast long shadows across the desert as Ahmed el-Badri adjusted his gear. The Great Pyramid loomed before him, its ancient stones bathed in hues of amber and crimson. Tourists had already departed, leaving behind an eerie silence. Ahmed had spent years studying the hidden chambers of Egypt's greatest monuments, but tonight he sought something far more elusive, something forbidden. He had pored over ancient manuscripts, studied forgotten hieroglyphs, and whispered with the local elders who feared even speaking of the cursed passage. According to legend, beneath the Great Pyramid lay a secret chamber, one sealed off for thousands of years. It was said to house not gold or treasures, but something far darker. Armed with only a flashlight, a chisel, and an unwavering sense of determination, Ahmed slipped past the final security checkpoint. He had bribed the guards earlier that day, enough money to make them look the other way for a few hours. The entrance to the hidden passage had been carefully marked in his notes. A small crack near the base of the pyramid, nearly invisible to the untrained eye. With steady hands, he cleared away loose sand and pried at the edges. The stone groaned, reluctant to yield after millennia of silence. Finally, it gave way, revealing a narrow, suffocating corridor descending into darkness. The air was thick, stale, and carried a scent Ahmed couldn't place. Something ancient, something wrong. As he squeezed through the opening, the flashlight flickered, casting wild shadows against the hieroglyph-covered walls. His heart pounded as he scanned the inscriptions. Unlike other tombs, there were no depictions of pharaohs or gods, no stories of glory or ascension. Instead, the carvings portrayed something monstrous. Beneath it, a single warning: disturb not the sleeper, lest the sands drink your soul. Ahmed swallowed hard. His rational mind dismissed the superstition, but a deeper, more primal instinct screamed for him to turn back. He pressed on. Chapter 2. The Whispering Walls. The air grew colder as Ahmed ventured deeper into the hidden corridor. The walls seemed to close in, their uneven stones pressing against his shoulders. His flashlight illuminated carvings that grew more disturbing with each step. Depictions of men kneeling before the shadowy figure, their mouths stretched in silent screams. A whisper, faint, almost indistinguishable from the rustling of the sand behind him. Ahmed froze. He swung his flashlight behind him, but the corridor was empty. Just the silence, the dreadful, consuming silence. He took a deep breath and forced himself forward. The passage twisted and turned, leading him deeper than he had anticipated. He knew he had gone too far to turn back when the air grew warm again, almost stifling. Ahead, the corridor widened into a small chamber. At its center stood a black stone sarcophagus. Unlike anything Ahmed had ever seen, the sarcophagus was made of pure obsidian, its surface smooth, yet carved with strange, shifting symbols. His pulse quickened. This was it, the hidden chamber, the culmination of his life's work. He approached cautiously, running his fingers over the lid. A sudden gust of cold air hissed through the room, though no passage should have allowed it. The whispering returned, clearer this time, more urgent. Leave, now, before it wakes. Ahmed stumbled back, nearly dropping his flashlight. His heart pounded, his rationality wavering. He had studied countless myths, but this was real. He could feel it. Then, the sarcophagus shifted. Just slightly, but enough. A deep, guttural groan echoed through the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling as the lid of the sarcophagus began to slide open. Chapter 3: The Sleeper Awakens. Ahmed's breath hitched. He wanted to move, to flee, but his legs refused to obey. The stone lid continued to shift, grinding against its base, releasing a thick, black mist that coiled like living tendrils around the room. The hieroglyphs on the walls pulsed with an eerie glow, casting flickering shadows that danced like tortured souls. The whispers grew into voices, moaning, pleading, warning. And then the thing inside moved. A skeletal hand, its fingers unnaturally long and wrapped in withered, blackened flesh, emerged from the mist. Ahmed's stomach churned as he beheld the grotesque figure that rose from the sarcophagus. Its hollow eyes locked onto him, two voids of endless darkness. The figure took a step forward, the air growing impossibly heavy. Ahmed staggered back, his body screaming to run, but something held him rooted in place. He had to see. He had to know. Then it spoke. The language was ancient, inhuman, yet Ahmed understood. You should not have come. A violent force hurled him against the wall. Pain erupted through his skull, but the entity did not advance. Instead, it lifted its hand, and suddenly, the chamber around him seemed to dissolve into shadow. The walls, the hieroglyphs, the pyramid itself, all faded, and Ahmed fell into nothingness. Chapter 4: The Realm of Shadows. When he opened his eyes, the world was wrong. He was no longer inside the pyramid. No sand, no stone, just an endless void of darkness stretching in all directions, broken only by shifting shapes. Faces screaming in silence, their eyes hollow and empty, their mouths opened and closed, forming words he could not hear, prayers lost in the abyss. Ahmed tried to scream, but no sound came. Panic surged through him as he turned, searching for a way out. There was no ceiling, no floor, just a formless expanse that swallowed all light. Yet he felt something beneath him, an invisible force keeping him afloat. The darkness pulsed, shifting like a living entity. Then movement. The being that had emerged from the sarcophagus was there, standing before him like a god of nightmares. It loomed impossibly tall, its elongated limbs shifting in unnatural ways. Its hollow eyes locked onto Ahmed, freezing him in place with a mere glance. The void quivered at its presence. The creature raised a hand, and suddenly memories flooded Ahmed's mind, not his own, but those of ancient ones. He saw the pyramid's construction, but it was not built by mere men. It was forged with suffering, built stone by stone with the souls of the condemned. He saw priests kneeling before this entity, their faces contorted in horror as it drained the very essence from their bodies, leaving them as shriveled husks. He saw blood, so much blood, rituals performed in secret, desperate men carving sigils into their own flesh to keep the entity contained. The pyramid had never been a tomb, it had been a prison, one designed to trap this ancient horror for eternity. But now, because of his curiosity, its bindings were broken. Ahmed's breathing turned ragged. He clenched his fists, willing himself to move, but the space around him was suffocating, pressing in like an unseen force. The screaming faces edged closer, their hollow eyes burning with sorrow. They weren't just the victims of this entity. They were the wardens, those who had given their lives to keep it contained. And now, he had set it free. The being spoke, though no sound passed through the void. Yet the words echoed inside Ahmed's skull, a whisper of doom. You have undone what was meant to last forever. A cold tendril of darkness wrapped around Ahmed's ankle, pulling him downward. He struggled, clawing at the void, but there was nothing to hold on to. The spectral faces twisted, their screams intensifying. The darkness consumed him, swallowing his body inch by inch. His last thought before he was dragged into the abyss was the realization that he would not die. No, he would suffer for eternity, trapped with the others, and the entity would walk free. Chapter 5. The Last Sacrifice. Ahmed's mind shattered as realization struck. This was no pharaoh, no god. This was something far older, something buried by those who had understood its horror. The pyramid had never been a tomb. It had been a prison, a desperate attempt by ancient priests to lock away an entity that should never have walked the earth. It reached for him, its elongated fingers stretching unnaturally as though the very air bent to its will. Shadows writhed around its form, shifting and churning like living things. Its mouth moved, though no words came. Instead, a deep, resonant vibration filled the void, worming its way into Ahmed's skull. A sudden jolt of pain ripped through his chest, as though unseen claws had sunk into him, pulling at something beyond flesh and bone. He gasped, his body convulsing. The hieroglyphs that lined the void's unseen walls blazed to life, radiating a golden light that did little to push back the consuming darkness. The screams of the trapped souls grew deafening, their anguish merging with his own. He could see them now, figures half-formed, their faces frozen in perpetual agony. They reached for him, their ghostly fingers brushing his skin, their eyes pleading. He understood their horror. They had been trapped here for centuries, their essences feeding the entity that now loomed before him. No. Ahmed tried to resist, his mind screaming against the pull. He had spent his life unraveling the mysteries of Egypt's past, but this was not meant for mortals to understand. His soul burned as the entity wrenched it free, and for a brief moment, he saw everything. Centuries of darkness, a hunger beyond comprehension, an existence beyond time, and then silence. The next morning, the guards found Ahmed's flashlight near the entrance of the pyramid. still flickering. But Ahmed was never seen again. And deep within the shadows of the Great Pyramid, something had begun to move once more.